Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I'm your host, Sean Garmer. Here with me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
Well, we're going to try this Sunday night spot, see if it works here, since it's the only day now that I get off at a decent time. Every other day I get off at 11, so we're not having to figure out how to stay awake instead.
Right.
But we got some games to talk about here as the 2023 has officially begun. Fire Emblem Engage just came out a couple of days ago. Neither one of us have played it, but it seems like everybody sort of seems to like it. I have played Piece Odyssey. I'm going to have a lot to talk about there. Another indie game as well, Space for the Unbound. 343 Industries suffered layoffs along with Microsoft. Riot Games suffered some layoffs. Ubisoft's not doing well. Lots of bad news with some good, mostly bad, unfortunately, but we'll talk about all that right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so just to get this out of the way before we start, I want to start by having a news flash here. If you listen to us through the W2O Network audio feed, that feed will be going away. Unfortunately, that is out of our hands. Our podcast host, Spreaker, has decided that they no longer are going to make available account RSS feeds, which would be, if you have a network RSS feed that is through your provider, they no longer support that. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. All I can tell you is in the description to this episode, I will have RSS feeds for not only Video Games to the Max, where if you subscribe there, you're always going to get anything anytime we post something, but all of the other shows that are active on the network right now, I will have RSS feeds for those individually where you can go subscribe. I will say we are going to talk a little bit about it as well today. The Last of Us episode 1 impressions for the HBO show. Randy and Jens, two of our friends here from the podcast, they brought their show back, Chapter Select, and they talk about the first episode there. So if you want a more in-depth look at the first episode, you can go find Chapter Select, search for it in any podcast feed, or you can just search for it on the W2O Network YouTube channel, which is still available, and you can get it through there. So again, the YouTube channel is still up and running. You can, if you want to watch us there, you can watch us on demand there. You can watch us live on Twitch or on the W2O Network, Facebook or Twitter or anything else. But again, if you listen to us through audio, make sure you go subscribe Video Games to the Max, because W2O Network, the feed itself is going away. You will not be able to just get everything we do in one feed any longer starting February 1st. They didn't give us too much of a runtime here for this. It's basically just dropped on us that apparently 2 years ago they decided to stop showcasing them, like you can't find them. And now all of a sudden they decided to just out of the blue go, oh, we're not even hosting them anymore. So again, make sure you subscribe through us, Video Games to the Max on audio. But let's go ahead and get started since it's more recent and there's not this like huge eye-popping news I think we need to talk about. Let's start with the games here. Mark, is there anything you want to discuss?
I picked up a copy of Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the SNES.
Hey, that's always a great game to be picking up. And
yeah, it was like $160.
Jeez, $160. Oof.
Yeah, not a cheap game, but it's also like fairly rare. Like I think it's the first time I've seen one in the wild.
Yeah.
I haven't been playing anything new. I do have a copy of Fire Emblem on the way. It should be here Tuesday, but Amazon just didn't ship it in time.
That's okay. I saw quite a few people were getting theirs delayed. Yeah. So it's not just you there. A lot of people were getting upset that it wasn't showing up that Friday.
Right. I also picked up a TurboGrafx 16.
I saw your picture.
Yeah.
There. You have any games to play with it, or you just have the console?
No, I have one game. I have Keith Courage in Alpha Zone. which is funny. I picked that up because I picked it up like 9 months ago. Just I saw it at a store, and I was like, well, TurboGrafx games are cool. It was like $10, so why not?
Right.
And I'm glad I had it because I could use it to test out the TurboGrafx with.
Yeah, for sure. You want to make sure it works at least and can play stuff. So
yeah, because the guy, like, I bought it. It was like a half hour away in my state. I had to drive out to get it, and he didn't have. So I got the console, the controller, and the power cord, like the original AC adapter, which is good. But he didn't have the RF switch, so I was driving home thinking like, how the hell do I hook this up to a TV? And then I looked it up, and like the old NES AV cords or RF switches can work with it also.
Oh,
so
that's
like,
good.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I can use that temporarily, or So yeah, I played a little Keith Courage, and I'm like, yep, this game's still bad.
Like, what made you get that over the other games? Just because it was cheap or something?
That was like the pack-in game. I mean, it was only like
okay.
Believe me, like TurboGrafx games are like expensive, or some of them are.
Yeah.
So I wanted like this, one of the cheapest games I could think of. There's only like 3 or 4 TurboGrafx games I actually do want, ever. So
yeah,
it's not like a huge system for me because it's like a whole bunch of like shoot 'em ups and crap like that, and I'm like, I'm not huge into that,
Right.
Like the only games I want are like Bonk's Adventure, Military Madness, and this like weird first-person shooter called Silent Debuggers, and that's about it. Like everyone.
So you got a console to get just 3 games for it?
No, I got a console just to get the console.
Oh, okay, just to have it, just to.
Yeah, I mean, I got it for $100, which is like stupid cheap.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Because like they regularly go for like 160 online, or maybe like there are a few on eBay that are like $300, and it's like you guys are high if you think you're gonna get that much for this thing. Like,
no, definitely not.
So yeah, the guy's price was originally 160, and then he lowered it to 100. I'm like, I'll take that. Let's go. And it has the back part also, because it has like this detachable back plate. So I'm like, all right, here's everything I want. But that's about it for me. I'm playing like stupid hidden object games, and that's about it. Like, there's nothing out really, so except for a mediocre One Piece game.
Hey, you say it's mediocre. I think it's a little bit better than me.
GameSpot says mediocre.
Well, GameSpot. But yeah, so since you gave me the lead in there, yes, appreciate that. Yeah,
I'm sure. I read it's fine,
right?
But just like, uninspired, or just gets bogged down.
No, I mean, so. We'll preface this by saying that at one point I was caught up with One Piece. I got all the way to when they start, basically towards like more towards the beginning of the Wano arc. I haven't watched it in the last year, so I don't know where they are right now, but I'm pretty covered for what they're going to have in this game anyway. So.
Right.
As far as everything that's in, sorry.
It's like that like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot game. Like they kind of go through the motions, but they also have like a few new bits as well.
Right. So, I mean, this is not just completely retelling the whole every major arc of One Piece. So I will say that there is a new sort of, it is a sort of a newer spin on it, in saying that you have to go and do things in the present. And then there's also a memory world where you have to go back and sort of, you're reliving some of those same events, but they may not happen the same way because you're living a sort of Christmas past version of that time. So you don't go through everything. So there are major parts, like say I've only been through the whole Alabasta arc, which is actually pretty long. It's one chapter, but it feels like a major breadth of length as far as this one section goes. So you don't go through like every big fight. There's a lot of the single fights that are missing, if you want to get technical about it. it's just kind of like going through dungeons and going through things and finding things and exploring. There's a lot of exploring, a lot of finding items, finding treasure. They are pirates after all. And then you still have the big bad of that arc that you still fight at the end. Crocodile, if you've never watched the show. But that being said, I think if you're a One Piece fan, this might be one of the best, if not the best, One Piece game. As far as like, this is a perfect gameplay type for what One Piece is. Like, it's the whole crew is great as a JRPG party. They have really funny lines. They got it down as far as what this crew means to each other. You do get to relive some of the cool moments from the show, but they're not like, there's some cutscenes here and there that kind of let you relive that, but you're not just going through all of that constantly. So I do want to preface that you can play this if you're not a One Piece fan, but a lot of the meaningful moments won't make sense to you or mean much if you're not a fan of One Piece. Like you said, that part of the whole Kakarot thing, there is some semblance of that because that you're reliving a lot of those moments in that game as well. Which actually that game it came out the same day. Was it the PS5 and Series version? So yeah, if you haven't played that yet, you go play that as well. But so the gameplay is turn-based. It's a turn-based RPG. It is a bit on the easy side. Like, you don't suffer any. It's more like the Final Fantasy X. Like, you can change in and change out your party. You don't have to worry about, oh man, I'm going to have to pay a penalty where I can't use them for a turn. You switch them out. They have the Fire Emblem or Pokemon, if you will, system of each person has their own, I guess, technique or whatever that they are. So you got power, technical, or speed, and then one beats the other, basically. So, you try to get the best you can out of all of them. But the cool thing is that, if you go power against power, they still do pretty decently. So it's not like you're constantly having to, I didn't feel like I needed to shuffle all the time, where it's just like I'm playing this shuffling game, constantly trying to do that. The battles go by pretty smoothly. It's just, I haven't felt challenged yet. There's a couple times where I kind of like had to actually really monitor my party and all that stuff. And it's mainly against the big boss at the end. But I still found it fun. Like, I still find like being a One Piece fan, enjoying the moments with the crew and all that stuff. It's fun. I just think if you're not a One Piece fan, this is not a game to go and rush out and buy for $60. Unless you're just a huge JRPG fan and you love stuff like that.
You played everything else.
Yeah, you played everything else and you just really want something new to play right now. And and you don't have a Switch, I guess, that you don't want to play Fire Emblem. But yeah, especially for Xbox, you're not going to get something in a while because Forspoken's PS5 only. So that being said, yeah, I think they nailed it on everything as far as the One Piece aspect. Like, I think the One Piece stuff, they absolutely nailed. They hit it on that out of the park. I laughed a bunch of times with the characters. I've had fun with getting to relive some of those moments. They all it's all in Japanese, but that you still get a lot of the cool lines. The whole battling between Sanji and Zoro, calling them names and stuff. The stuff that Luffy does where he does crazy stuff and doesn't think about what he's doing. Nami being crazy about treasure and money. All that stuff's there, So I think they did that very well. Some great justice. I'm excited to get to play more. We'll see. I've heard that it's like at least a 40 hour adventure. There is side quests. That's one thing they don't really do a great job of, telling you where to go with the side quests. You kind of have to do a little bit of searching there because there's a little I guess a navigation portal if you're doing the main quest, like that's always there. But when you're doing the side quest stuff, it's a little bit harder to find where the person that you're supposed to meet, or once you get through that first section where you got to meet the next person or whatever else you got to do, they give you a little hint, but that's about it. So that you may have to do a bit more digging when it comes to the side quests and things like that. But yeah, it's really fun. You get power really quickly. One little technical thing that I wasn't a big fan of, and I think it can kind of bog down the gameplay a bit and make it feel a bit kind of samey, is you gain levels, but you don't gain abilities as you gain levels. You gain it because of the way that they do the memory world. You gain abilities after you finish the chapter. Yeah. So you're essentially through the entire chapter using the same abilities over and over and over. And that kind of gets a little bit tedious, especially if you're not a big fan of if you're just buying this to have a JRPG, I think that can really start to bother you. I don't really know why they couldn't have done the traditional JRPG thing where you gain abilities as you gain levels. That's their decision, but yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. I do like the way they do equipment. Everybody has this little board that they have to fill, and you each have to have these little slots that you kind of have to like do puzzles with everybody, and that's kind of neat. Trying to get everything to work in there, and they do have like a fusion system with the equipment as well. So that's pretty neat, and I like the new characters. The new characters that they add with the main world that you're in called the Wofford. Both of them are they feel like they're part of the One Piece universe. So yeah, I think for the most part, again, I've enjoyed the game. And I think if you're a One Piece fan, it's one you should definitely think about picking up. If not at release, because you want to play something else, definitely something to look for later in the year when maybe it's a little bit more, less stuff coming out and you want something to play. I definitely would recommend it. Another game that I'm technically reviewing this game as well. I got a thanks Ben on Namco for the code. It's 4-1, and then I'm reviewing another game for Last Word on Gaming, which is an indie game. You probably see, I think it's been shown on some of the Indie World Directs, called Space for the Unbound. It's set in like 90s Indonesia, and it's basically, I guess, like you would call it a walking sim, if you want to call it that. But it's like pixel art. So it feels like it could have been on the SNES. And I think it's sweet and charming. I haven't gotten through everything. I think I'm like 3 chapters in. Basically, you're this character, Atma, who's the boy. And then you have this other girl character who's your girlfriend, and both of them have powers. I'm not going to like go through what each of them can do, because I think that kind of ruins a little bit of the story impact. But I think if you like these like sort of narrative story-based games, I definitely would try it out. But it deals with some like real life kind of aspects of like depression, mental issues, anxiety, things like that, portrayed through what goes on with Atma and Rhea and the other character that is involved here as well. So yeah, I've liked it so far. I think it's really charming. I got it on the Switch, so I'll probably have more thoughts as I write the review, hoping for next week. I got to do the big move this week, so we'll see when I can get to it. But for the most part, I've really been enjoying it. And again, like if you like these narrative type games, I definitely should pick it up. And aside from that, I made it out of Midgar in Final Fantasy VII. And yeah, I made it out of there. I went to Calm, and I think I'm in the middle of the Nibelheim thing the last time I had played it. So see when I can get back to that when things slow down, because I know I'm not getting Forspoken. And I don't know about Dead Space Remake. I'm going to have to wait on that one for a little bit, because I know I have to spend a bunch on the Theater Rhythm game pretty quick. So
it's only 100.
But yeah, I am. But I'll get plenty of use out of it. I'll play it a lot. So that's the fun thing, at least. So that's it, I think, for the games we've been playing. Let's get into the news here. And like I said at the beginning, a lot of the news outside of the Last of Us stuff that I think we'll talk about at the end, just to avoid, even though I don't really think it's spoilers unless you just haven't played the game at all. Let's start really quick with the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium stuff that came out, I think, a couple of days ago. So if you have Extra, you can play Back for Blood, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which that's a game that Marc liked a lot. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, that's a pretty terrific game. Both Life is Strange Before the Storm and Life is Strange, I might check those out because I never played those. I've only played the most recent one. Jet the Far Shore, that's that game that came out last year, the indie title that's sort of like just like exploration based. Just Cause 4 Reloaded, which I think, if I remember right, you did not like it that much.
Yeah, I don't know what Reloaded adds, but who knows?
Erica, which wasn't that something that Jens
I think it's some
played?
Like FMV game or something. Yeah.
And then Omno, which is an indie title as well. So some pretty decent stuff in there, especially Dragon Ball Fighters. If you like fighting, that's a pretty great fighting game. If you haven't played that yet, Devil May Cry 5 is one of the best freaking action games out there. And then you get the 2 Life is Strange games as well. So that's pretty good. And they added some decent stuff for the 3 PS1 classics, Siphon Filter 3. You probably maybe have played that.
Nope. I've only played a demo of Siphon Filter 1.
Star Wars Demolition and Hot Shots Golf 2. Never can go wrong with Hot Shots Golf, at least there.
Adding the big hits.
Yeah, for sure. It's supposedly there are rumors that they are going to be doing a lot with the PS Classics this year. Let's see if that actually happens. Because so far, my thing runs up in March, and I'm really considering downgrading because Premium has been an absolute just ripoff right now.
Right.
So
and who wants to play like the Twisted Metal version of Star Wars? You know?
Yeah, like not really.
Right.
I don't know too many people that do. So Microsoft's among some other, tech companies in general have been getting hit with layoffs big time. Meta, Google, Microsoft, Giant Bomb, GameSpot, Amazon, I think, Amazon as well. So unfortunately, when you include Microsoft, this also includes the gaming side of things. So Bethesda and Xbox both got hit with layoffs. And 343 was impacted pretty heavily when you're looking at that. And it put the future of Halo in doubt for a lot of people. They kind of, obviously they have to, with Halo Infinite is still out there and it's still supposed to getting content. They had to, come out and go, hey, we're going to keep developing Halo now and in the future, including stories, epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. We know the troubled history that Halo Infinite went through. I don't think we need to go over that again. But Bonnie Ross left, remember, last year. The multiplayer creative director left. Its director of engineering left. The head of creative is now leaving. Many of the 343 employees are not happy because of the way that this was handled. And, that basically they feel like this shouldn't have happened. Halo Infinite should be in a better state. There's leadership up the top during Halo Infinite's development that caused massive stress on people. That it shouldn't be blamed on the people that worked on the game every day, which unfortunately, when stuff like that happens, the people that get affected the most are not the figureheads, it's the people below that. And that happens in almost any company when stuff like this happens. And then just to throw this in as well, Microsoft also suffered another blow to this acquisition of Activision-Blizzard because Google, which obviously Google has reasons, right? They had a competitor in Stadia just shut down officially this last week. And then NVIDIA got involved also in saying that there is a case for the need to have equal and open access to games. It doesn't oppose the acquisition, but it wasn't completely supportive of it either. So to throw all that in, it doesn't look great right now. I mean, it feels like all we've heard since the launch of Halo Infinite was, okay, story's great or story's enjoyable, but then everything else about Halo Infinite has been bad.
And these are the guys who want to take over Call of Duty, huh?
Technically different studios.
Yeah, but it's all at the top, like you just said. Like, it all fell.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it all fell on Phil Spencer's head or shoulder.
Yeah.
So.
Phil Spencer got promoted during all of this. And, that's terrible. I mean, you lose 10,000 people. Many of that in 343 Industries, Bethesda as well, who's, they're working on a game right now. They're working on Starfield. I don't know how much of that team, if at all, got hit, but we've also got was it Redfall that's supposed to be coming out. So you got 2 Bethesda titles coming out this year. That's not good when you hear Bethesda's name included here, because they're also working on that Indiana Jones game from Machine Games. So they've got plenty of things going on in the works right now, but really Microsoft really just needs a game to come out at this point. Because all of their news has been negative.
I mean, we can talk about Ubisoft in a bit, but it's the same thing as Ubisoft as well. So
yeah,
but
I mean, they have this developer direct in a couple of days, so maybe there will be something positive. But
for the people who are employed, here are the games they're making.
Yeah, and it just sucks. It just sucks to see all of this. It sucks to see these huge companies that make so much money have to lose people. But I mean, it feels like the tech boom is starting to lessen a bit here.
At least for like Halo, like ever since Microsoft took it over, it's been like a slow moving disaster.
Yeah, ever since 343 has been the main players here.
The games are mostly fine. I think Halo 5 was like the outlier. Like, I don't think anyone liked that one too much.
I think people hated the story was not
right
great. The multiplayer was fine.
Right. I mean, the multiplayer is almost always fine. But like them saying with Halo Infinite now, like, oh, we're cutting back story content. Like, we're not going to add any more story DLC. It's just going to be, multiplayer stuff. It's like, this game is literally called Halo Infinite, you idiots. Like,
I mean, that makes it be out for me, because I don't really have much more to play of the story. And that's what I was hoping on, is that we would get DLC. We would get more things to bring, the story-based gamers back. I mean, I don't really care about I played the multiplayer here and there. It's fun or whatever, but I'm not a big multiplayer gamer. So,
and even if you were, it's not like Halo is where it once was.
No, it's not. I mean, there's so much negativity when it comes to Halo's multiplayer. So, it's not all the talk about Halo multiplayer is like, this is not what we thought about when y'all were telling us that we're going to have, the best multiplayer ever, and that it's free to play and all of this stuff. I mean, so just think about the perspective of, man, Halo used to be Microsoft's main franchise, and now it's like they're sitting there hoping that Forza can save their butt again, because that's all they've had for a while.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, I like Forza, don't get me wrong, but it's not anywhere near, it's not where Halo should be, let's say that, as far as like size and scale. Like you don't see like Forza branded Mountain Dew cups or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely not. That's the thing is, and then you have that divide as well, right? You got the people that like the Horizon game, right. And then you got people like me that are never going to touch the motorsport game because it's just too technical for me.
Yeah, you don't want to race around like the Nürburgring 20 times or anything like that. Or you like the sense of exploration and like the big open world feel.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it just like for me, Starfield might be something that I try out. I'm usually not like the big Fallout, and I'm not a big Western RPG guy in general, but I'll see. But definitely Redfall, I don't know if that's gonna hit as big as they think it is.
I'll go with no.
Yeah.
My crystal ball is showing no on that one. Like, I'm sure it'll be popular for like a month or two and then quickly fall off like every other, multiplayer four player.
It feels like all of these co-op shooters that have come and gone, they tried to make it come back, and one after the other, bam, 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 none of them seem to really light the world on fire.
Right.
So we'll see if Redfall continues that trend or maybe bucks it. I'm not sure, but I mean, it's good to hear that Microsoft has some games coming out. There's some that it would be good to get some updates on when we get that developer diary, like Hellblade 2 and Avowed, and are they going to show us anything with Everwild? Those are the more intriguing things. Fable feels like forever away. Then we might get a little bit more about that, but that really feels far.
I mean, there were rumors a few weeks ago that like Fable got rebooted, or
I saw that too.
Like, no, it's not. But it's like at this point, why not? Or the fact that you haven't shown anything out of it for like 4 years.
I think it's just they got to avoid bad press so bad, because it's like we already know Everwild got rebooted.
Yeah.
Right. We already know they went through some troubles. Was it Team Ninja? Is it Team Ninja, right?
What?
That's who they are? No, they're Hellblade.
Yeah.
They're working on that Project Mara thing too. So it's like you got a lot of stuff in development, right? We got Outer Worlds 2 as well, but it's like it feels like a lot of this stuff is far away. And then the stuff that's coming out, even that necessarily, aside from Starfield, doesn't really feel like it's going to be this magnum opus that Microsoft really needs to. Again, Forza is going to have its fans, no doubt. Forza is going to be a great game. They know how to make Forza at this point.
Yeah, it's not anything new. Like this is like Forza Motorsport 8, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, it's 8. I mean, I think they took the name off. They took the number off at this point.
The gunblade system.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're all waiting on. But no, definitely, it's just it sucks to see you buy all these studios and then.
A lot of people off and then say it's all your fault.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think also what's hurting them too is just like this prolonged thing with the Activision-Blizzard deal, where it's like, I think they're kind of looking at it like, man, this is going to take a long time. We might as well start laying off people because we're going to have to bring in all these people from these studios eventually, but it's not happening as quick as we want. And, I think that's causing an issue too,
I got 5 words that'll solve all of Microsoft's problems right here and now. Blink's the Time Sweeper 3. Make a new Blink screen and a new Fusion Frenzy.
Hey, I'm down with a new Fusion Frenzy. That would be great if we could have one of those. Hey, Microsoft needs a party game. I mean, I know they have that Party Animals game, which that looks fun and all, but a new Fusion Frenzy would be great.
I don't think you ever made this point, but I saw some of the points that or even like Phil Spencer saying like, oh, if the Activision deal goes through, we can resurrect all these old Activision franchises.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
You can't do that with Microsoft franchises. What makes you think you're going to do this with Activision ones?
But I think Microsoft franchises is like, again, besides Blinks, they don't have that many. Like Activision actually does, and some of them are. We're not just. It's not like just resurrecting. It's like we're making sure that they keep going, like Tony Hawk, right? That should be still going, and it's not.
I mean, that's the only one though.
Yeah, I mean, Crash is still going technically, but how many people really want that Rumble game? I mean, right. I don't think there's that many people. It's cool, but it's not. When I'm thinking of a Crash game, that's not really what
you're thinking of. The racing game.
Yeah, well, the racing game's fine.
Well,
but
the original one was fine. The remaster was a bastardized thing.
Yeah, I know. Aren't wrong about that. But as much as Phil Spencer wants to say that, it hurts. It hurt him. Yeah, to have to see this and have to do it.
It's like, well, I didn't see you coughing up your paycheck.
Yeah, we can't speak for that. We don't know.
Right.
For sure or not if anything was done on that front, but it just sucks. It sucks that, again, you brought in all these teams and we've had very little. I mean, outside of Obsidian, which has been their one saving grace out of this whole thing.
It's like, no offense to Microsoft, or to the game in general, but like them going like, hey, we got Penitent. It's like, yeah, okay. Like,
I mean, Pentiment's a great critical darling, right? But it's not. Oh my God, go play Pentiment right now because
it's not like a game you can like bundle up with the console and go like, oh, I got a free game, Pentiment.
Yeah,
it's like,
definitely no, you can't. It's one of those like darling things that you have to kind of really be into games to like that. It's not something you can recommend to your friend and go, hey, go play Pentiment. A Grounded is the same thing as well. It's not something that. It's a nice little game.
Which one?
But Grounded, which is also from Obsidian. Yeah. But
that was also offered like in early development forever too. So that's why
exactly. It finally came out last year, and then your one big game that was exclusive, High on Life, now has really bad press. So that didn't go well either. Justin Roiland aside here. But it just has not been great for Microsoft, and it also has not been great for Ubisoft either.
They're doing worse.
They delayed. Oh my God, Mark, we're talking about it again. The game that's never going to come out, Skull and Bones, again delayed, and now it's like TBA.
Yeah, they just said just fiscal year 2023 or something.
Yeah, at first they had March 9th or something.
Yeah, I had an actual date.
And then first it was supposed to come out the day before God of War Ragnarok. They moved it to like March of this year. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now we don't even know when it's coming out. So then they use the excuse of Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope undersold.
Yeah, which there's a few reasons for that. I saw a video of a guy explaining it, like, because like the first Mario Rabbids game did really well when it came out. But it's like, because it came out like the month the Switch came out. Like there's no other games when it came out.
Well, no, it didn't come out the month. It came out that year of the Switch where they were just getting banger after banger every month. And it was, the Switch still felt new. There wasn't you were right. There's not a lot of games at that point. Now it's like you got way too many games for the Switch. And then also the Switch is not, I mean, the Switch is the highest selling console of this year still. But I feel like also the first game was a surprise to a lot of people. Like it was new.
I think now it's not. It also burned a lot of people. So that's why
that's true.
I didn't expect the second one to do too well. I mean, it sucks because that second one is like a marked improvement of the first one.
Right.
Don't expect a Mario Rabbids 3 to come out anytime soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it. Definitely not. And also, we got to remember, too, Mario Rabbids 1 felt like it was perpetually on sale all the time.
Yeah, you can get that for like $15 or,
I swear, like, that game was constantly on sale for $35.
Yeah.
And, I mean, maybe that'll happen with this one, and that's where it'll get a lot of the people that buy it. But, I think I agree with you in that a lot of mixture of things. It came out the first year of the Switch. It was new. It was something different, right? It was the Rabbids and Mario and all of them in a different game that we don't see them in a lot of times. And then they played it and they go, I didn't like this that much. I think when the second one comes out, it's like, well, that's looks like the same game. So I'm not buying this, maybe when it goes on sale, a big sale, people will buy it again. But we'll see. It's just, you throw that in. Also, like a lot of their other franchises that they've been like wanting to do well have not been. Just Dance has apparently finally hit that part where people are kind of just like, okay, it's the same game every year. This is not doing well.
They turned Rocksmith into a subscription-based model instead.
Exactly.
So it's like
that didn't help. They canceled 3 unannounced games. None of them is Beyond Good and Evil 2, apparently for now. But
which that just broke the Duke Nukem Forever record.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
That's not good. Yves Guillemot did not help himself by putting the onus on the developers at first.
Yeah, and then they said we're going to strike, and then he quickly backed down. He's like, "Oh wait, my bad."
Does this guy just not have a PR person? Like the dude just keeps putting his foot in his mouth constantly. Like, why are you even saying these things?
He was like, "Oh, I think he said like, oh, the employees need to like lead us out of the this our dark future or whatever bullshit," and it's like. You're the leader. Like, you're the one who's...
Yeah, if anybody's supposed to be the one leading, it's supposed to be you. After you chose to, like, take forever to remove all the bad apples that you had. Like, and,
I watched a video of, like, Ubisoft games over, like, last year. Like, aside from Mario and Rabbids, it was, like, 3 mobile ports or mobile games no one's heard of or barely has played. Some Assassin's Creed DLC. And Roller Derby. Or Roller
Champions, yeah.
Yeah.
And which there were already rumors that they were going to shut it down.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Or
so
and it's like, and what Rainbow Six Extraction, which no one cared about.
Yeah, that game just came and went like a wet fart.
Yeah.
It just absolutely got nothing.
And it's like, who okayed all these games or who okayed all this shit? Like, it's not the employee, this programmer going like, oh, I'm going to put up this extraction game. It's you. You said this is a fine.
Yeah, it feels like if you look at this, what Ubisoft has, right?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of games that we don't know when in the world they're going to come out. Right, they had to delay the Avatar game.
Yep.
Which you would have thought they would have tried their damnedest to get that to come out along with the movie. It didn't.
That would have been the smart move. Or now it'll be like, oh, it'll come out when the Blu-ray releases or when the DVD comes out. It's like, yeah, okay.
They have this multiplayer, like 3D party game that's supposed to come out at the tail end of this month. That probably will not be moving the needle that much. That's Ubisoft likes to.
They already had a Rabbids party game came out last year.
Yeah,
and it's like no one played that. Like
that it's called Oddballers.
Yeah,
and then they have that Division free to play Heartland thing. We'll see if that revives. Yeah, a lot of people are going to play that. Skull and Bones, which is indefinitely delayed right now. Yeah. The one positive they have is Assassin's Creed Mirage going back to the old Assassin's Creed. But Assassin's Creed really has been their one consistent game has been Assassin's Creed.
Right.
You've liked all the Hollow stuff, but man, they really made that game feel like it was a lot.
No, I liked the Hollow. That's one I liked.
Yeah,
I don't like Odyssey or Origins, but I dumped 180 hours into Valhalla, so and I'll get Mirage.
I think you played all the DLC, right?
Yeah, I'll get Mirage when it comes out.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
That's
we have the who knows when Assassin's Creed Infinity, all those games are coming.
Right.
So again, like almost all of this is Assassin's Creed. You got Beyond Good and Evil 2, which we don't know if that's ever coming out. Prince of Persia, the remake.
Same thing.
We don't know when that's coming out.
Yeah.
Project U, that we don't know what's going to happen with that.
Someone asked, Eve did a conference call with some of his employees, because they're like, oh, we're trying to adapt to the changing trends of gaming culture. One of the employees asked, like, why aren't we setting the tone, or why aren't we setting trends ourselves? And he had no response to that at all.
I mean, one of the problems Ubisoft has is that people are out Ubisofting Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows how to do a Ubisoft game now. Everybody does it. When there's an open world game, it's all Ubisoft's stuff, right? It's all stuff that Ubisoft normally does.
They shouldn't have relied on one formula for the past 2 decades or 15 years.
They killed all their other games except for Division and Rainbow Six Siege that were different, right? Even Prince of Persia was different. Even dang it, I can't think of one of the other games that Rayman. Right. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Michel Ancel is gone and everything, but Rayman should have had a new game by now.
Yeah. Well, he'll be in the DLC at least for Mario and Rabbids, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just to finish, the Settlers remake. Okay, that's different, but it's still okay, that's a very limited audience.
Yeah.
Who knows when the Splinter Cell remake is going to come out?
Never.
The Star Wars Ubisoft game could be cool, right? But again, we don't know when that's coming out. And then you got that X-Defiant BS multiplayer thing. So it's
they're trying to work in a new crew game.
Yeah.
And it's yo, why?
But that's the thing. They have to. They can't set the trend because they now don't know how to make a game that doesn't have all the Ubisoft element crap in it.
Yeah.
So it's we're making the same game, and then the one big thing we have is that we're gonna stop doing Assassin's Creed the RPG and go back to doing Assassin's Creed the action stealth game. So I mean, what does that really say about you as a company right now?
You're regressing. I have no ideas.
Exactly. I think you need to get. I mean, Eve might need to step back and maybe get some new blood in there to run the ship and say, look, this is where gaming is going. Let's push it in this direction. Right.
I firmly think that within 5 years, either he'll be gone or Ubisoft will be gone.
Yeah, Ubisoft will get bought by somebody.
Yeah, will be absorbed by Microsoft or EA or something.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if somebody, I don't know what they would do about the Tencent owning parts of it or whatever, or how long it would take to get that dissolved, or they would have to carry that over, or I don't know. But I will not be surprised at all if within the next year or two, Ubisoft is owned by somebody else.
Yeah,
because they have been open about, hey, we're willing to listen to offers.
Yeah, but
pretty vividly. It doesn't surprise me at all that this is what's happening. And then again, aside from Assassin's Creed Mirage, when you look at the list of games that are supposed to be coming out this year for them, it's very, very, very slim.
Yeah.
And they don't have, I mean, Six Siege is still doing okay, right? But aside from that, you don't have these platoons to fall back on. At least EA still has FIFA, Madden, all that. If for some reason Jedi Survivor doesn't do well, they still have that, right? I'm pretty sure it probably will do fine. But just saying,
Well, they don't have like the perennial franchises that have been around for 20 or 30 years.
Well, they have some, but they have like Far Cry is just like I don't think I want to see another Far Cry game for a long
well, that's
while.
the thing. They just ran it into the ground, and them going like, "Oh, you got Giancarlo Esposito." It's like, okay, but the gameplay is still like not great, and you just we're adding more into it doesn't help.
It's not. It's just not looking good for Ubisoft right now,
Plus,
and
they can't annualize a lot of their games, unlike EA or Activision.
Well, no, and when they did, what happened? Right? People got tired of Assassin's Creed.
Right.
So now they're trying to do that by having different Assassin's Creeds in different forms of development.
Yeah.
So that they can have one sort of almost every year, year and a half.
For a while, and most of that was actually fine, but like the 1 year it went bad, it went really bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's just one of these things. Ubisoft is really going to have to try to turn the page and go in a different direction and think of something. I don't know if they need to just wipe the slate with more of these games that have been long in development and or they have to do the other thing of just like, come on, let's go, let's get them out, get that Beyond Good and Evil 2 out. We need to get the Splinter Cell out because,
I'd cancel Beyond Good and Evil 2 at this point. Or say, if you're going to do that, say within 6 months, we have to have a trailer, you have to have actual gameplay footage.
Right.
Like, light a fire under people's asses.
Yeah. By the end of this year, we need to have something.
Yeah. But Splinter Cell should come out, or they should make one of those. But I don't have any faith they will.
Yeah.
Or it'll be good.
I don't know that we have faith. Aside from Assassin's Creed, it feels like there's not a lot of faith in Ubisoft, period. So
it'll be Sam Fisher climbing a satellite dish to get, to unlock more of the map.
Yeah, for sure. So continuing in the bad direction, I'm just going to go throw all this stuff in here. Riot Games had to let go of some people. 46 jobs have been eliminated in a round of cuts. Really sucks to hear that. Riot Games is pretty much League of Legends, and they've been, they did that RPG, which actually kind of looked interesting. I've been waiting for it to go on a kind of a bigger sale to maybe pick it up.
I think I have that.
Yeah. And of course, they have the Arcane show that did wonders for people on Netflix. And Blizzard has been having this tit for tat with China for a while and NetEase, and the deal ends basically. Ends by the time you're going to be watching or listening to this. And that pretty much means that everything Blizzard is all going to be suspended. So WoW, Hearthstone, Warcraft 3 Reforged, if people are still playing that, Overwatch 2, StarCraft, Diablo 3, Heroes of the Storm. I mean, if people are still playing Heroes of the Storm, maybe. And then, you got the upcoming Diablo 4 as well, so they need to resolve this issue that they have with China.
This is a weird story because apparently this was a few months ago, but I guess Blizzard tried to renegotiate their deal, or like they wanted to sign like an extension with NetEase saying like, oh, we want 6 more months, but we also want to be able to negotiate with other partners. Like, and NetEase was like, go fuck yourself. Like, why would you think we would ever? Okay,
exactly. Who's ever going to be cool with that?
Yeah. So that's ultimately what kind of happened. And then I guess NetEase, like, they've been partners for 14 years.
Right. And
they made that Diablo Immortal game. Like, I'm not sure that's the one that's like not getting cut off yet, but soon. But I guess like NetEase had some like Blizzard statue or like some orc statue on their company headquarters, and they like tore it down.
Wow. Way to make a statement there.
There's a video of them tearing it down, and like I think like 30,000 Chinese people watched it, like cheering them on. So, I mean, there are some other companies that like Blizzard can partner with, like Tencent, or I thought like, there were like 2 or 3 others. But like, your World of Warcraft character is not moving forward over there, or that's the important part.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's just it's not great to have this happen right now, especially when you're like trying to finish this buyout deal, and then maybe they were assuming that Microsoft would at some point.
I think like a pie in the sky, but if Microsoft got the deal to go okay tomorrow, like it just went through magically, I think this actually resolved itself pretty quickly because Nettie said, like, we still want to work on this stuff, but if some higher up Blizzard guy was some jackass, and he's like the one who like went against it, or like wanted to like he accused Netties of like stealing their IP or trying to like get their games.
Yeah,
it's like no, like y'all know Blizzard's games. Like it's hard to kind of copy that to an extent.
Yeah, and I think people will see that quickly, right, as well, and kind of be like, this feels like a copy, a ripoff. And
I think Tencent actually did make some like. There's a trailer of it now actually out. It is like some World of Warcraft looking MMO that's pretty funny. Like there are some pretty direct references or like Chinese copies. Or like, oh, he's not called Deathwing, he's called Dreadwing. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's not good. But I mean, like, something that's go ahead.
Well, it's like what happens to all the Chinese gold farmers now? They're all out of jobs.
Yes.
Oh, what am I saying? They always play an American service, they always do.
Another bad thing, which is not great for Square-Enix, but this kind of felt inevitable, honestly. Marvel's Avengers is finally going to be getting a end date as far as support from Square-Enix and the team itself. This kind of felt like, again, inevitable that we were going to see this. Now they've kind of said that basically by September 30th, that's it. Single multiplayer gameplay will continue to be available, but they're kind of done doing like updates and things like that.
Yeah, like basically no more content or like no more. I mean, I'm sure if there's like some big security issue, they may patch it, but no more like balancing or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, once Embracer bought Crystal Dynamics, the writing was already kind of on the wall. Or, once Square sold them off, it's like, how long is this going to keep going?
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think people should have seen that happening. They weren't going to definitely pay the premium that they were going to want for this kind of thing to keep going, especially when, like, again, how much is Square Enix going to have to pay to keep Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal while they're being owned by another studio to keep working on their game? And it's not like Embracer has any kind of motive to do it because it's not like the game's performing extremely well.
Right.
I mean, they might not have sold these studios either if the game was doing really well.
Yeah, I'm sure if the game had like 300,000 players on it right now, they would be canceling it. But it has, like, I saw some Steam thing, and it was like, we got 350 players on it like this one day, and it's like,
wow.
Team Fortress 2 has more than that, and that's 15 years old.
That game is super old. Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately, I think that game was hobbled from the start, like Marvel's Avengers. They never got ahead of it, or they never like fixed it in the public persona of it or perception of it. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what sucks because it actually had a good single player story and everything, but they kept botching the co-op and then also when they would add new things, like I think a lot of people liked the Hawkeye stuff and they liked the Wakanda stuff, but then it was like, again, you kind of fail in keeping the game fresh as far as when they made that gameplay change, right? That wasn't received very well by people either.
When they were like, oh, people are like leveling too fast, we got to stop this. And it's like, no, like That's like the one thing people would probably want, view as a positive. So all this said, this thing lasted less than Marvel Heroes.
Oof, that says a lot right there.
By like about a year, or at least I think like 400 days or something like that. And it's like, yeah, good job killing that one, I guess, then, huh?
And then I get also having to like tie it to the MCU, but then you can't use the MCU people. You can't use
right. I mean, yeah, that was like the most hilarious part when they introduced the game. They're like, here are all the voice actors. It's like, what? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's talk about like legends of video game voice acting, but it's not, the voices that you're used to hearing.
Yeah, no offense to like Nolan North or Laura Bailey. Like, they're good, but it's not Scarlett Johansson or Christopher Evans when the game is supposed to directly be in the stupid MCU.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that's my fear with that EA Iron Man game. It was like, no, pay Robert Downey Jr. his money. just do it. I'm sure it'll be fine because he doesn't have to show up for the, he doesn't have to act on the camera, but pay him his money and let's just move on.
But they probably won't though.
Right.
They probably won't, unfortunately.
Nolan North sounds just like him. He'll be fine.
Or they'll get one of the ones that have done him in the cartoon show.
Yeah.
In the past. I think it's just, that's the thing is like, look at Marvel Midnight Suns, how well that was received.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to tie it to the MCU. They let it be its own thing. And they let it be its own game, and now look at it.
Same thing with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So,
yeah, and Marvel Snap is well received as well. They've done a good job with that. I mean, obviously that's a card game, much easier to do than this big
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, exactly. They let Spider-Man be its own. They didn't try to do Spider-Man Homecoming, the game. Right. Spider-Man was his own thing. Right. Yeah. They let it be all separate. Right. They didn't make Miles Morales the same Miles Morales that's in the movies. So they really could use a lesson from that and say, hey, there's some good stuff here that we're missing out because we're so doggone. It's got to tie to the MCU. Like, stop doing that.
The only exception I would say though is it would be cool if they got like, for that like Miles Morales Spider-Man game, if they got the Spider-Verse actor to do voiceover for it as well, like give you the option, that'd be kind of cool. But that's about it.
Yep, that's extremely.
Well, you're not gonna get Tom Holland to do it unless you pay him money.
No,
it'd just be like that would be cool. Like I would actually probably pay for that, but it doesn't need to tie directly into. This is Spoke 9 in a Phase 4 plan of the MCU. It's like, no, this is just some dumb extra. Because like the recent Mortal Kombat game did that.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Just again, this felt inevitable, but it's also just like a tale of how this game has just been not well received and just has gone more into that.
What are you trying to say? A live service Square Enix game has gone bad?
Yeah,
I don't believe you.
Add that to the list of live service Square Enix. I mean, look at Babylon's Fall, how well that did. I mean, but if we're going to stay on the same track of how well this or did not do, Callisto Protocol also underperformed.
Just a bit.
The game reportedly cost over $200 billion, and it only made back 160. Well, no, 100. No, that's 200 billion.
Billion, something like not U.S. currency.
Yeah, not U.S. currency. 162 million U.S. currency, and then 132 million pounds.
It cost 200 million yuan, which is I think Korean.
It's still ridiculous. Still a ridiculous number. It costs that much. This game did not sell well. I mean, they're saying it might have a current sales ranking of cumulative 2 million.
Yeah, and they needed it to do 5 to basically break even.
Yeah,
I think like that game had problems. The biggest one is like word of mouth, like just word of mouth. Like once it came out, it got very middling to negative scores, and that why people are going to buy it then.
Yeah.
And also, this is one of the games that called like quadruple A, like not triple A anymore, quadruple A, and it's like, yo, why? Like, Dead Space was never that to begin with, and why would you do that with an untested franchise? Like, if you're gonna make a quadruple A game, have it be Star Wars, or have it be like maybe Metal Gear Solid, or something like that, not some new thing that people don't know if it's actually going to be good, they like.
I mean, also it's like they really tried to. Dead Space is coming pretty soon, and you really went after the Dead Space crowd.
I think it launched in such a rough state because they really did try to get it out early.
Exactly.
But it's like the game wasn't finished though, so that's an issue. And then, if the game came out now, it still wouldn't have probably sold as much as they needed it to, but it got fixed up enough to be in a more playable state. And it's like, yeah, you would have sold more copies now then.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing is like, it really felt like, oh my God, we have to get this out before the Dead Space remake or we're toast.
Yeah.
And it's just like, has that ever really helped someone? When you're rushing a game, it's a new IP, it's already getting comparisons to that, except it's like gorier and more horror.
Hey, it worked for Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation.
It's like, but honestly, I don't get the whole like, oh, we got to get this out the door now instead of making sure that this is going to be good. Remember, a first impression, especially when it comes to games, like that matters because people are not. You're talking about games that cost 60, now 70, now more. You cannot look what's happening with Forspoken right now. This game comes out in literally like a couple of days, and the press is absolutely negative about this game. They had to. When have you ever heard that they need to redo a demo because people didn't like it that much? Like, I pretty much checked out of the game because of the demo. Yeah. Like I made the decision that I'm not spending $70 on this. If it winds up being good, I'll pay the 50 or less later.
I mean, I think the demo is okay. But it reminded me of like Sonic Frontiers, kind of, and it's like that's weird.
Yeah, it's not a good look at all for Callisto Protocol. It's sad to see, quite honestly, but it's just, man, you definitely don't want. You didn't want this to happen, but it felt like you could definitely see it happening, and then. Here, that's the thing you were left on.
It should have said screw it, because I think one reason I'll never play that game probably is just like the main actor is I just don't like what's his name, Sam Witwer, like at all, and it's like you should have just said screw it and made a. Replace him with Vin Diesel and just make a new Chronicles of Riddick game.
Yep. And that would have been cool, right? But that also would have had to pay more money. So
sorry, the main guy is Josh Duhamel, and it's like, he's not great either. Yeah, Sam Witwer is like the bad guy, and it's like, wow, it's like a race to the blandest, huh?
Yeah. It's like Meta is also not doing well. They had to lay off people. We talked about that, I think previously, and they're also they've kind of already had talked about this. I think also that they were going to end support for the original Oculus Quest. So
basically like after March, like you can still buy stuff, but they're not going to put anything new on there. But
yeah,
I put this on there because I thought it was funny because they're like, oh, we're ending support for the Meta social program or club or whatever. And it's like,
yeah.
you're phrasing that as a bad thing when I see it as a positive. So what does that tell you about your social program?
That it wasn't good to
Yeah,
begin
so
with.
Social Horizon or their Meta Horizon bullshit or whatever. It's like, yeah, no one wants this. Like they keep trying to think, they keep trying to go like it's gonna be like Ready Player One. It's like that wasn't a
No,
positive movie, you idiots, or like that wasn't a good thing in the grand scheme of things.
yeah. Like I feel like that's been Meta's thing forever. We're gonna usher in the Ready Player One,
Yeah,
and it's still yet to happen.
complete with all the misogyny.
Yeah, it's like it has still yet to happen, and here we are. You
Yeah,
know, stop trying to. I mean, I'm not saying that we'll never get there. We might probably when we're not on this earth anymore. But it's just like, yeah, it's just right now. It doesn't mean that we need to fast forward to that. I don't
right.
think the world is even close already for that to be a thing. So, yeah. I think most people by now, you have the Quest 2
I have the Quest One.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah,
Oh,
but
most people just had to hit the Quest 2 because they're gonna get the Quest Pro.
right.
I mean,
So,
if mine broke currently, I'd wait till like the Quest 3 comes out, like the next version.
yeah, I wouldn't blame you on that.
Because the Quest 2 is already kind of aging out. Like that's been out for 2 years, so
Right.
why not?
Yeah, for sure. I think we both have spoken that we're not gonna get this because of the price and everything. But that PSVR 2 it's coming pretty quickly here.
Yeah,
And they did announce the launch games here. They have some pretty interesting ones in here. Of course, the Horizon Call of the Mountain is going to be the pack-in game. That's the one that people know the most about, and they're probably going to get. It's going to get the most hype of anything that's on this. You got that free update for Gran Turismo 7 if you're a racing game fan. A Dark Pictures game is coming out on it. I guess trying to see if they can do the success from what is it, Until Dawn.
yeah.
The Creed Rise of Glory game could be pretty good. Boxing games seem to do well in VR for the most part.
That last Creed game wasn't great though. So
yeah, the Cities VR game. After the Fall. You got a Jurassic World game, Job Simulator again. That last Clockwinder game looks interesting. The NFL game is okay. No Man's Sky is going to be in VR. Resident Evil Village in VR. Res Infinite VR. The Tetris Effect in VR. Thumper, which that was also on PSVR 1. And yeah, you get some of that Walking Dead Saints and Sinners second game. There's some Pistol Whip might be one of the big games people are playing out of that as well.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is old. That's
right.
one problem. But I thought it's funny that like some games will get free upgrades, like Gran Turismo 7. I mean, or like the Light Brigade, or that NFL Pro Era game.
Yeah.
But like some games will cost money, like Tetris Effect and Res.
Yeah, I mean, Tetris Effect is basically out on everything. That's what's weird.
Yeah.
So that one I don't understand at all, but I think this is still going to do well. Those initial VR units are going to sell every time something new comes out.
I think it'll sell well initially, but it'll more quickly fall apart than the PSVR did. And
yeah, definitely.
The reason I say that is look at what happened to Kinect.
Yeah.
And especially for like, if this thing was $200, it'd be, sure, why not? But this thing is more expensive than the fucking console. So
yeah, and if you don't have the console, that is a lot of money to put in. Now, granted, again, if you're going to compare this to the Valve Index or something that you need a PC for, sure, it's cheaper.
Technically cheaper, but also like, look at the breadth and scope of like Steam VR. It's like there are 20 times as many things on that thing than this thing will ever have.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is just like, is this kind of going to be the same thing as PSVR, where it does well, they get to boast about numbers, and then you slowly start seeing the developers not
the drop off.
Yeah, the drop off. And then it's like, okay, well, this is a thing. And there's stuff that, I mean, people are waiting on Half-Life Alyx to come on it, which that's a big game whenever it does drop. People have been waiting to have another way to play this besides PC.
Has it been announced it will come or no?
I don't know what they've officially, but like, I feel like Jim Ryan and other people have said that it is.
Okay.
So, it's basically one of those, like, they're just waiting for the announcement.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like, instead of, oh, this is for sure a thing. Right. So yeah, I'm not a VR person. I don't really have the space for it, but I think people that enjoy it, hey, I don't want to see another. It's like kind of like Stadia, right? The technology is great. Did I want Stadia to go away or whatever? No. Does it suck for the developers and for all the people who'd like to use it? Yes. Is it going to be the next game-changing, world-changing thing? I don't know. I don't think so. At least maybe not in games. Maybe for other uses, but I think people are still kind of okay with the way they play games now, especially with, it feels like Steam Deck has really galvanized the whole I want my games portably thing and not have to be tied to that's another thing too. It still can't compete with the Oculus Quest 2 because you're still tied to something. It still has a tether. So until you remove that, until it is completely wireless, which I'm assuming that would make it even more expensive.
Technically, I mean, they could just drop the specs down to whatever the Quest 2 is, but they don't want to do that. So
yeah, I think they don't want the problem of like what you're having with the Series X and Series S, right? Where you have to make like two versions basically.
Right.
So I think that would cause more development headaches, and you don't have the backing to really, some of these people maybe don't even have the money, the funding to, let's make two versions of it. You know? So there's that as well that you got to look at. But that's still something to come. Something that we know for sure is one positive, I guess, out of this entire feels like negative week for gaming is the NPD sales for December 2022 and the year overall. In December, we had Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 obviously being the big leader. They were the overall leader of the entire year, no surprise. Was Modern Warfare or Call of Duty in general not the big winner? Elden Ring came in a really close second, though, and then you had Madden, God of War Ragnarok, Lego Star Wars, Skywalker Saga, that did really well. Surprising to me, the Need for Speed Unbound that came in at number 8 for EA. I think the sudden drop-off. And did you see that it started at 70 and all of a sudden it was like 40 something?
Yeah, like a week later or something.
Yeah. I'm very happy to see Crisis Core is number 10. Very good, glad to see. And Japan, it apparently did some bonkers numbers as well. So even though they remastered it and they put it on consoles that it has not been on, remember, it's still an old game. So the fact that now they did do some touch-ups to the graphics and the gameplay and everything, which helped, obviously. But it's still based on that old game. So I think that's that power of Final Fantasy VII is still in play here. Callisto Protocol wound up being number 17, but as we talked about, that doesn't really mean much when they really needed that game to
be number
be
one,
something else. They needed it to be something else. So, yeah, there's just we'll see what happens in January. There is some big games there, and one ends up taking it. But overall, it led to the whole everything for the year still being at a good number. It's actually, I think, in December increased a little bit compared to last year in December. It helps a lot that like there was more hardware available, which that wasn't the case beforehand. So that's something we got to look at, but we'll see what happens in 2023 as far as that goes. So let's end things here. Did you watch the first episode of The Last of Us show?
Yep. You?
I did as well. Yeah. It's really cool how much like shot for shot stuff they did to the game.
Yeah, it doesn't work in one particular sequence, but go on.
I thought overall, like I really like. I mean, I don't know that Pedro Pascal has done a bad thing in a while.
It's good to qualify that.
I'm saying, like but like almost everything I've seen him in,
right?
I've enjoyed, right?
Since he got popular, yeah.
So tie that with, I don't know that she's like the perfect Ellie or whatever, but I thought she does a good job. Bella Ramsey as well. And I think that it's going to make for a really interesting, what are they going to do with the show? How is it going to be different from the game? It's supposed to be very close to, that first game, the story and everything. So, but if you're like me and you haven't really experienced like the whole game or whatever before, I think for me, I think it's cool to watch it as a show. And I enjoyed that first episode. So, what did you think of it? Or
I thought it was fine. I really liked. She's not huge into it at the moment, but Anna Torv as, I forget her name. The girl, like his partner.
Yeah,
she's good. I always liked her since like Fringe came out.
That's where I remember her from. I was sitting there going, God, I've seen her face before.
Yeah.
And that's what
the only sequence that didn't work, at least for me, because I'm not like Randy. I don't obsess over the game that much.
Yeah.
But there's a sequence when him and her are breaking into like the house where the character's name was Tess, where Tess and Joel are breaking into like a house to get to like the sewer or like the subway line.
Yeah.
And that's where you see that like one guy like mushroomed against the wall, like in the sewer. And there's a scene when they're breaking in, and there's a shot where like it's just like a window kind of, but you see all these like dust particles kind of flying in and out, or like kind of settling down a little.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's cool, but they said that this isn't like the game where that's a problem, because like the fungus isn't distributed by spores. So why have this one shot when it doesn't matter? Like, it's not like the game. It's like, in the game, when you get like the dusty area, put on the stupid mask. But I thought the brother was good. Really hoping to see Nick Offerman in that third episode. Sure, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And I thought his daughter in the first half hour was like, no offense to Bella Ramsey, but like the first daughter was like a much better actress.
Oh yeah. I was feeling some feels when you get to that part, where it happens. Right. And I was like, damn, it made me feel like, because my own daughter does a lot of the stuff, that she does in that game. She's very independent. If she could, she could go on the bus and do things and whatever, on her own. And it made me feel, and then like also the older lady that they have be that first one is like,
right.
that's a bit unsettling there, so
that's the weird thing is like how they like, I mean, I hopefully assume that it'll show up more like this tonight's episode or later on, but like if the thing isn't airborne, how does the contagion spread? Like
that's because they took away the spores, right, for this game,
so, like,
for this show.
When a daughter's in school, you see like her one of the students' hands twitching or whatever.
Right.
Like, well, how did he catch it? I doubt he just got off a plane somewhere, or like. So I hope they kind of get into that more. I think they said like, oh, the spores might come back, they might make an appearance, and it's like, well, they damn well like. If they don't, there's going to be kind of a big plot hole here.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, the guy who did it, Craig Mazin. I mean, he did that Chernobyl show, and that was quite good.
He did a terrific job with that. I'm impressed. I really am excited for the rest of it. Let's see. I know, all the reviewers basically got to see the whole show already, but.
Well, I think up to like the first 6 episodes. I think that's what most people have seen, at least, like the reviewers.
Right.
But it's fine. Like I'll watch it obviously because an episode tonight.
Right. So we'll definitely have more thoughts on that for next week. So we already know Marc's going to have some Fire Emblem Engage thoughts for next week. I don't think either one of us are going to get Forspoken. Are you gonna?
No. I mean, if it gets like a 10 out of 10 from like reviewers, maybe, but I doubt it.
Yeah,
we won't get a review copy.
I highly doubt that. I don't know. It's maybe a Dead Space remake code could show up. I'm not going to go after it. I have a lot of stuff already. So
I can guarantee you, if one does show up, it'll be for Xbox.
Right, where you can't play it. But we'll see what happens. Yeah. I'm kind of just trying to get through these 2 games, and then I think pretty much there's not something coming out till Theater Rhythm for me. So we'll see for sure. But yeah, look, we got some big games coming up before we do another show next week. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining us this week. Really appreciate all of you that have watched and listened, wherever it is that you have. Remember, if you want it early and fast, go subscribe to the W2 Network YouTube channel. It comes out there first, and then later on the podcast side. Remember, again, if you subscribe through the W2 Network feed, go search Video Games to the Max, wherever it is that you listen, and subscribe there, because at the end of this month, the W2 Network feed will still be there, but it's going to error out and you won't get any more new episodes. So that's something you've got to look at and make sure that hopefully you don't think we just stop making content after February 1st, because that's not true. Just make sure you subscribe to Video Games to the Max if you listen on audio. So anyway, hopefully you enjoy the rest of what we do here for WTM Network. Marc Rylas keeps doing his thing. They have just continued to always stay on top of it with the movies. There's a new podcast called Movies Don't Suck as well. You definitely should go check out. They're pretty great as well. But the Rylas crew, they did the review of the Avatar movie. So definitely check that one out. They've been doing some MMA stuff as well. We got the MMA for Marks folks. We got Talk to Keiki, the anime podcast. So you definitely want to keep everything glued to the channel. Just make sure if you like a podcast that we have on the network on the YouTube side, go search for it individually on the podcast side, and you can keep up with it there. So until next week, everyone, we will see y'all later.
Later.
Bye.